Here we go. This is actually go 2 at the 9th Waynecast because the other one decided to mess up on us. So to try and remember what the hell I was talking about. It's quite early in the morning for me. I'm behind on a little bit of work, something very important. Yesterday was a day from hell. I lost a very, very important model that was nearly finished. So it can't get a whole lot worse. But on the bright side, well, actually, there's not a bright side. Apart from the fact I've got to try probably the most unenviable task of any digital sculptor and try and recreate something that you've already modelled and freestyled. Because I find that trying to recreate something a second time round, it sort of loses something in the translation, if you know what I mean. It doesn't have as much life. So the only option is to basically partially redesign it. Now, if I partially redesign this particular one, it could mean that I've got to redesign everything else in the scene. It all hinges, to be honest, on the head. If the head changes slightly, then I've got to change everything else. So that's what I'll try and do over the next few days, because it's going to be a long sort of thing that I'm doing. Now, you may have noticed I've continued on with the Davros one. That got put to one side because of all the work I had in. My rule is when you've got work in that's paying money, actual cash money, then the free time stuff, the personal stuff goes to one side, or even gets dumped, no matter how much you like it. So now I've got a little bit more time, or I did have on a night time. I've done a couple of bits and pieces. I won't be doing it every night, or maybe not even every week, but I'll be picking up every now and again. He's now got the Dalek-esque chair. I did make one screw up on that model that somebody pointed out, and that was I gave him two working arms. But Davros has only got one working arm. Because it's a matter of, it's just habit really, that every time I make a character, he's got two arms, you pose it, it looks great, right? But until somebody pointed out, wait a minute, he's got two arms. I thought, now that's a very good point indeed. So I had to go back and change that a bit. It was an absolute nightmare because I had a bit of spyware that interfered with the OBJ import and export routines on the computer. So every time I was importing things, I was getting crashes in all the programs and all sorts of stuff. Not nice, especially not when you got a lot of work in. Some of you will notice that Mr. Glenn Southern, has popped back up online again after what a lot of people seem like a considerable absence. Glenn's been there. He's been there, on and off. He has to take a few months off with work things. I won't go into it because it's his own business, I'm sure Glenn will discuss it if and when the time comes. But he does do a lot of work and a lot of stuff, personal stuff. Like last night, I was talking to Glenn. I saw two models. Now I'm pretty confident one of them, at least, will never see the light of day in public. And it's a shame because it's a really good model. Glenn, he's a bit like me in the fact that he does loads of models, and not all of them ever see the light of day. Sometimes it's because for a client, sometimes it's just because, well, if you start putting loads of models online, people have a habit of getting pissed off. Be honest, if you saw somebody putting up a model, like sort of 5 a day, it wouldn't be long before people would start having a real hissy fit, and that'll be it. When I've been on the sharp end of that for a while, so it doesn't really bother me. But sometimes, if you are prolific, I would strongly advise, not to go too overboard putting models online. Which is what I'm trying to keep it down to a dull raw this year. But again, it depends what I go through. I go through these patches where I'm extremely productive, and then I go through other times when it just goes down to virtual zero, down to a stop. When I do the crazy models like house bricks and sofas and anything else in Zbrush, that just to keep the hand in. But at the moment, I seem to be going through a prolific phase. I've knocked a load of them out in the last 7 days. Nobody's seen, apart from the work I did in the Davros, any of them yet. Some of them for clients, which means I can't show you. Some of them I'm keeping to one side for other projects and articles and stuff. So I'm not actually letting people see everything I'm doing at the moment. I'm in the middle of changing a change of style as well, because I've worked out a while ago that if you keep the same style all the time, people get bored. It's like, think of any 3D digital sculptor that's been around a long time, since the early days, and eventually people they might go through a phase where people treat them like the god, which obviously I don't get treated like a god, get treated more like I'm Satan. But anyway, and then people get a bit sick of it because everybody starts copying the style. So I thought, before I even get to that stage, that every sort of 6 months or so I go out of my way to change style and change, maybe not the type of model I'm doing. Sometimes it's the type of model, sometimes it's the way I sculpt. I'll start in a different way, or I'll use a different technique. Keeps people on the toes, and keeps me on my toes, stops it from getting stale. So that's basically what I'm trying to do at the moment, because I've got I've got an hour and a half before I have to start doing some work. So I'm going to try and see what I can recover from the model that I lost, and see if it is feasible to remake it. If it is, great. If it's not, well, gonna have to think again. So we'll have to see. I am coming up with different concepts to usual, because a lot of people have noticed that I do a lot of work with spheres, basically because it's the ultimate blank canvas. You don't have to create anything; it's already there. It's a nice ball. Everybody knows what a ball looks like, and it's then up to this. The ideas in your head. Now, I don't work from a concept art. In fact, the only time I've worked on concept art recently was the one model I lost, which just goes to show it's cursed, really, isn't it? So I can start. I found that if you start in different places, you get a different type of model. So if I start on the eyes, normally it'll get a human-esque model. If I start on the nose, depending on the type of nose, whether it's an animal nose or a human nose, it'll give a different type of skull. If I start on the mouth, it goes, whoa, totally different. I haven't started on the ears yet. That's next on my list, to start on the ears, see what happens then. Argue the most boring ones are where you start sculpting the eyes first, once you've got the basic head shape. But there you go, that's how I see it anyway. Let's have a quick mouthful of my coffee here. It's the first coffee of the day, by the way, that's why I look a bit rough. Oh yes, the Waynecast needs a considerable amount of caffeine in the system before I'm human. So yes, that's basically what I've got planned for today and for the rest of the week. Lots of trying to recover models and get stuff sorted. I'm also trying to put a bit less pressure on myself, because I'm one of those people I don't just worry about my worries, I worry about everybody's worries. I worry about things I shouldn't worry about. So as a result, you can get stressed more and things like that, And it's never really about work, to be honest. The work stuff I need for breakfast, I really can, it doesn't bother me in the slightest. It's more normal things, like you worry about something, like at the moment it's blizzarding outside. Now my son's out with my parents, so I'm worrying now, if the blizzard gets too bad, or they're going to get stuck, is there going to be a car crash, all these crazy things I shouldn't be worrying about. But there you go. Anyway, I'll catch you in the second part, because this has got to be getting out 7 minutes or so now. I'm getting better at judging what time it is. It helps as well, because right over there is the clock. So, yeah, see you in a second.